In this video, we're going to have a look at the most simple gateway of the BPMN language, the XOR gateway, also called the exclusive choice gateway. Let's first look at what it looks like. A gateway is a small diamond, as we've seen, and we might use it as a split or a join. For the split, we see one sequence flow coming in, and then on the outgoing sequence flows, we have conditions. So the XOR split takes a decision immediately upon arrival of a token at the gateway. Based on the conditions, it selects the outgoing sequence flow that will get a token. This means that each outgoing sequence flow must have a condition on it or be the default. In this small example, this indicates the default, a small diagonal line through the outgoing sequence flow. And you see a default sequence flow does not have a condition. The join. If we use the XOR gateway as a join, then there are no further special requirements. So it is just an incoming sequence flow, so in this case 3 incoming sequence flows and 1 outgoing sequence flow. And the XOR join behaves by forwarding any token that it gets on one of its ingoing sequence flow to its outgoing sequence flows. Let's have a look at that in a little bit more detail. First, the split. Now this A and B are conditions, so they are booleans, so we can make a truth table. First case is that A holds and B does not. When a token arrives, immediately the XOR split gateway will take a decision. It will check, does A hold, does B hold? A holds, so the token gets forwarded to the outgoing sequence flow with A. Second, if A does not hold but B holds, then the XOR split, as soon as a token arrives, will forward that token onto the sequence flow with the B. If both A and B holds and a token arrives, then we do not know how to continue, because the XOR split tells us we should enable one outgoing sequence flow, but here we don't know which one. So this is an issue that we should avoid during modeling. Now what happens if neither A nor B holds? Then when a token arrives, it cannot progress, right? Because the XOR split should select one of the 2 outgoing branches, and it cannot because the conditions are both false. So this is also a problem that should be avoided in modeling. Now let's look at what happens if we have the default there. If A holds and B doesn't, there is no issue. It just works as before and the token gets forwarded to A. If A does not hold but B holds, then the token gets forwarded to B. In the case that both A and B holds, here we still have a problem because we still don't know which way we should forward the token to A and to B. The default doesn't help us because that would simply add a third option. So this is still a problem that needs to be avoided in modeling. Where the default does help though, is if neither A nor B holds, then the token gets forwarded to the default sequence flow. This is the XOR split that splits control flow into 2 or more branches. Let's look at the join. What happens for the join? If we get a token on the top incoming sequence flow, this token will simply be forwarded to the outgoing sequence flow. If we get a token on the bottom, then again, this token will be simply forwarded to the outgoing sequence flow of the XOR join gateway. What happens if we get a token both on top and below? Then the XOR join will forward both tokens in the order that they arrived. So both tokens are forwarded to the outgoing sequence flow. This is not forbidden in BPMN, so this is fine. However, it can lead to situations where the thing after the XOR join will be executed multiple times because there are 2 tokens going in there. So this is a situation that in general should be avoided, but it is not a problem for BPMN. Lastly, in this video, I also want to show you an implicit join. And an implicit join is used to shorten the model, to make it smaller, and not have to put in additional gateways that are not really necessary. So on the right, we see that we have an XOR join merging two branches and then a task. We may replace this by two incoming sequence flows to the task on the left. These two models, or model fragments, left and right, have exactly the same meaning, the same behavior, and we refer to the join on the left, so without the XOR gateway join, as an implicit join. This wraps up the most simple gateway in the BPMN language, the XOR. We've seen that it selects one of the outgoing branches based on conditions, based on data, and if none of them holds, it will choose the default sequence flow if you have specified that. The join simply forwards every token.